AEW Worlds End 2023 match card and predictions for you here today on the channel. Who will walk away AEW World Champion? Will it be MJF or Samoa Joe? Will we get a devil reveal? We know that Samoa Joe has been working alongside the devil after this past week on Dynamite. There are 10 matches in total to go through, including 2 matches on the buy-in. So let's not waste any time getting straight into that match card and what we'll be discussing here today for AEW Worlds End. To start things off with the buy-in, we've got Hook versus Wheeler Yuta for the FDW Championship. Now, of course, there'll be FTW rules on the buy-in. We've got a 20-man battle royal. The winner gets a future TNT title shot. Heading to the main card, we've got Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston in the AEW Continental Classic Final, who will become a Triple Crown champion. We've got Christian Cage versus Adam Copeland for the TNT Championship in a no DQ match. Julia Hart versus Abadon for the AEW TBS Championship. We've finally got Keith Lee versus Swerve Strickland. We've been waiting for that one for well over a year. We've got Miro versus Andrade Idolo with CJ Perry in his corner. We've got an 8-man tag team match. Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks, Big Bill, Powerhouse, Hobbs, and Carl Fletcher. We've got the AEW World Women's Championship on the line. Timeless Toni Storm versus Riho. And like I mentioned, that main event will be MJF versus Samoa Joe. So that is our lineup here today. NX Steve is in the hot seat with me. So NX Steve, first off, how are you doing? And what are your excitement levels for AEW Worlds End 2023?
Recovering from a cold or a head cold the last couple of days. So apart from that, I'm all good. And yeah, man, excited to talk about some wrestling again. It's been a while since we've done one of these lives and these predictions. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. I must admit, there is about, let's say, 2 matches I'm particularly looking forward to. Maybe a third sneaks in there as well. But the rest of it feels pretty thrown together in the last minute. I must admit, though, this time of year has been a bit more difficult to keep up to date with like the collision side of things when it comes to AEW. But I have tried to keep myself in what's going on everywhere. We'll be able to give you full detail as we go through the predictions. But as an excitement level for me, as I say, I think about a 5 probably at this point. I'm getting a bit lackluster with the devil angle as well. But NX Steve, what would be your number between 1 and 10?
Yeah, I'd probably have to say a 5, maybe a 6. I mean, some of these matches have the potential to like really steal the show, but like you said, half of these matches kind of feel flat, like there's no build to them. It's just a case of there being on the show, and it's like, why have we got so many matches if half of them don't even really ever build to it? Like, just for example, Miro versus Andrade Idolo, it just seems like it's just a match that really should be on TV rather than a pay-per-view. But hey, hopefully I'm wrong, and the match is an absolute classic.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there's a lot of potential with that. Hopefully, we'll have to wait and see what will go out and what will go down. For me, match that I'm most looking forward to on this card, looking at it here, I think it kind of has to be the main event. It is the bulk of the meat of what's been the storytelling really in AEW right now with MJF versus Samoa Joe. But the Continental Classic has been a big one for me. I've really enjoyed that, the way it's been presented. And in fact, we've got Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley in the final match. Obviously, these two no strangers to one another. They are best friends, but they've also had rivalries in the past, so I hope it should be a lot of fun, that one. But yeah, I mean, it's a big one match. What match was it you were most looking forward to?
Again, same as what you just said. The main event probably has the most story-wise going into it. The Continental Classic, I mean, it's a spin on what was the former TNA bracket-style tournament thing they used to do, where it was a case of score points for a win that they used to do on TNA back in the day. It's like Bound for Glory. Yeah, it's like a more evolved version of that, man. And it's exciting because, I mean, going into that final week, there was a case of it could be one of 3 people, one of 4 people, like triple threat matches, single matches. Like, there was so many possible outcomes. So, and then plus the story in itself having, say, Eddie Kingston going in and basically handing over 2 titles and trying to win back 3. And obviously going up against Jon Moxley. It's got a lot of story going into it for surprisingly, like, it was probably a small possibility of that being the final. But like I said, it's the best. I think it's the best result we could have got out of that tournament.
Absolutely. We'll see how it's going to play out. And we'll give our predictions in a couple of moments' time. But just before we do, let's say hello to the chat. First, say hello to me. Great username, that one. Me saying hi. Jones in the house as well says, hi, fellas. Hope you're well. He is excited for this stream. Josie, hope you're keeping well. Eric as well in the house with us. He's been getting involved in the chats. And do you think that what the FTW rules mean? Will be the first match we're talking about. Basically, a hardcore match. It's gone down the ECW avenue. To give a good example, FTW rules was used at All In for Hook versus Jack Perry, and that pretty much was weapons all the way through. In fact, there was a broken car where glass was broken, of course, where Jack Perry said "Cry me a river," those famous words back in the day. So yeah, pretty much a hardcore match is where we're going with that. Jones has got a couple of takes as well, just before we get started as well. We'll be mainly predominantly talking about the devil stuff towards the end, but he does say, have these people got names on contracts? I'm not sure it's quite retribution yet, but we'll see after this show. And obviously, with the title match, will it be names on the title side belt plates? Have they set up bank accounts under the names Maskman 1 and Maskman 2 to get them paid, or are they volunteers? Jonesy basically needs to know the answers, so AEW better be giving them at this show is all I can say. Temple Plays says evening with Temple. Hope you are keeping well. And Jones's last comments come through. Says the whole tournament went from great to disgrace in his opinion because there's no fresh star to get a break and win. They're going with the status quo. And Temple Plays says finally, I'm the devil. There we go. We've got it answered. We don't even need to speculate in the stream. But we'll be giving the AEW prediction as we go through towards the main event. But as we say, we've got a buy-in to talk about, and we'll do it fairly sharpishly. 2 matches to go through. I reckon we can do it in about 4 minutes. Starting with Hook versus Wheeler Yuta for the FTW Championship. For FTW Raws, as we said, pretty much a hardcore match is what this one's based on. This is pretty much based with the idea of the young boy of the Blackpool Combat Club against the, if you want, young boy of the best friends. Wheeler Yuta taking exception after Orange Cassidy had beaten John Moxley at Full Gear, started having issues. Of course, he's had issues with Shibata, who's been friends with Orange Cassidy as well, but targeted Hook, and obviously now it's led to an FTW Rules match at this show. Wheeler Yuta is a pure champion from Ring of Honor. I don't see him becoming the FTW champion, though. I think that that's Hook's thing right now, and I think that hardcore style suits him more. I can see Hook picking up the W, especially with the fact this show is in New York as well. It's going to have a hometown feel for Hook on this one.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's a case of it's that FTW championship again that seems to just never get over. Where like for the last 25 years, like we said it on the I said it on the ECW review the other day that it just seems like a title that's been trying to be relevant for the last 25 years. But yeah, I can't see Hook losing this either. I think that it's just it's a strange match that we've even got, to be honest with you. Like you said, the fact that Yuta was annoyed at Orange Cassidy and he's decided to go for Hook is just a strange one itself. But yeah, for me, I'm going with Hook retaining as well.
It's interesting. Orange isn't actually advertised for this show at the time of recording. Of course, he could be in the next match we're going to talk about in a couple of seconds' time. But, well, we'll have to wait and see. But, yeah, it's good to see Hook gets an opportunity to perform in front of a home crowd, if you will, or as close to home crowd as possible here in the New York area. Quick shout into the comments as well. Top Lad, of course, Charlie in house. Hope you're doing well. And of course, he'll be NXT. Have to do this one time. A happy hammer this evening. So welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. But that'll be enough for the football talk for now. But Eric Douglas thinks the Kingdom are the masked men. I think you could be onto something, although Temple believes it could be Hammerstone and Richard Holiday. We'll have to wait and see who it will be. Temple also wishes that this would have been FTW versus Pure Rules Unification for World's End, but obviously for this time it's just FTW Championship. We'll move on then to which will be the 20-man battle royal, and be honest, at the time of recording there's no names announced for it, so all we know is the winner gets a future shot at the TNT title. It gives an indication potentially that Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, it could be their final encounter, and perhaps maybe the winner of this will be the next challenger and perhaps the next feud going forward. For me, for that reason, I feel it makes more sense that a babyface wins this, purely because of the idea you can do face versus face, but heel versus heel kind of makes it feel that the match later in the evening would be a bit obvious. But what do you feel, face or heel? What makes more sense to win this potential one?
I mean, it doesn't make sense unless you know what the outcome of the whole Adam Copeland Christian Cage match is. But yeah, for me, I think it has to be a face. I think it's their opportunity to try and make a star out of someone. It's just a case on if they decide to pull the trigger and who that star is going to be, if I'm honest.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about some names that are not on the show that potentially could be in this match. Bryan Danielson, no longer on this show, obviously not winning the Continental Classic. We're talking Jay White is another name in there. Jay Lethal, Mark Briscoe, all that were part of this. Brody King. Obviously, House of Black currently aren't advertised. FTR, I don't believe either. Didn't see them on the Wikipedia page. We've got the likes of Wardlow, not been advertised either for the show at this point. Orange Cassidy. So there are a host of names. Brian Cage could be another one out there as well. So, I mean, as a shot in the dark, because and Hangman Adam Page, let's not forget him, or the Young Bucks. If we'd have thrown just a name out there, because let's be honest, that's all we can do at this point, who would you go for to pick up the win here and get a future TNT title shot?
For me, I'm just going to basically go on two picks that they're just guys I generally like to see do better in the company. Like, I'm scrolling through the AEW roster here, and the only two names that I've kind of sat there and gone, do you know what? I'd actually like to see them getting a bigger opportunity. One is Bandido, and the other is, oh my God, I just had his name a minute ago. There he is. Ethan Page. I think Ethan Page has been there so long now that I think an opportunity in the TNT title would be a good opportunity for him. And Bandido is just one of my favorite sort of like high flyers. That, do you know what I mean? I think he always great, great and exciting matches.
He does have great and exciting matches. We're going to see him get more of a run in AEW. He seems to have gone missing for the recent times. But Temple brings up a good point here. TK loves his Battle Royals, but the winner of the Battle Royal will be the Joker. Could it be potentially a return of Jack Perry?
Do you know what? With what's going on with the whole Devil Mask thing, like, you kind of hoping it is, because, like, I think for me, I'll just get it out now. I think if Jack Perry turns out to be the devil, I think it's going to be a real disappointment. Like, I think it's going to be like a really lackluster kind of thing, especially like I don't really want to give too much away with what we're going to talk about, but yeah, I just think that I'd be okay with Jack Perry winning it. Put it that way.
I'd be fine for him winning the Battle Royal. If he's the devil, then the crowd went mild. That's all I can say about that. I don't really have much high hopes if he was to become the devil either. But what I'm going to say is, for my prediction, I was leaning towards the idea of Pentagon, because he would be a fun match, I think, to get singles run. I suppose I've been doing a lot of that stuff recently. But there's quite a few big names I mentioned as well. And I have a bit of an excitement idea of, like, let's say, a Jay White in that situation, and because of the fact he's not involved with the AEW World Championship going forward, he should be going for championships in AEW. That would be an interesting one to go for, but it's hard to say. I will stick my neck out and I will say Pentagon, just because I want to do something a bit different. But let's go into the chat very quickly. Tom Collier is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Tom, thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. This is How Was Christmas? Very good, thank you. I really enjoyed it. Lovely time with the family. Was yours good as well, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, it was all good, apart from me being ill, really. Like I said, it was a nice chilled out couple of days, really. I just recovering from a head cold for most of it. Still am. That's why I'm coughing my lungs out.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, we hope that you've had a fantastic Christmas as well, and NXT. We hope you feel better very, very quickly. But thank you for joining us, Tom. Hope you are doing well. Jones is saying the Battle Royal, it's time for a debut or a new star. Potentially could be. Obviously, the WWE releases now are potentially available to be a part of this, maybe like a Nick Nemeth, Mustafa Ali. Could we see one of those come in? Would the buy-in be the right position for it? Would it not be better to be a position on the main show if that was the case?
It depends on who the star is. Like, I think if you brought in a Nick Nemeth, I think he's too big of a name. And the fact that you're going to have Nick Nemeth versus Christian Cage or Adam Copeland for the TNT title, I don't think that works. I think for me, if you used to do Mustafa Ali, hey, why not? Wasn't exactly the biggest star in WWE, but I think he would get a massive pop if he was to debut and win.
Absolutely indeed. I would not disagree with that at all. Temple places Jack Perry to return and will, I'm guessing, win this and face Christian Cage. Long-term booking. Hold on to that thought, Temple. We may revisit that thought later on, because I may have something in mind that's similar, but not exactly the same, if you will. But it definitely could be onto something. Top Lad Charlie says that Bandido is a great shout. And of course, as well, here we've got, if it's Jack Perry, I'm going to have one last Christmas gift for Toni. I wonder what that will be, Eric. It won't be a subscription, maybe. I don't know. Temple says, Pac, where have you been hiding? Would love to see him return in this Battle Royal. I believe he's injured again, but Don't hold me to that. I don't know 100% on that one, but I believe he was injured the last time he was taken off of TV. A couple of comments again with the Devil stuff. It's going to be very popular on this stream, I'm pretty sure. But as much as I've been enamored, says Topland, with the Masked Men stuff, I'm low-key glad the RH tag team titles are of MJF and Cole for now, depending on who it is, I guess. We'll be talking about that in more detail as we get towards the main event of the stream, obviously. So yeah, do hold on to that. We will come back and revisit it. But yes, we will now look here. Tom's comment says Tony Khan expects the Devil Revelations at AEW's World End House of Wrestling. He does expect it. Will he get a good reaction from it? I think is going to be the big one here, because I think we will get a reveal on this show. But that's us then talking about the buy-in. Shall we go into the meat and bones and talk about the main show?
Go for it, mate.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go into something I've really enjoyed up to this point. It's been the AEW Continental Classic, an opportunity for a Triple Crown winner. Of course, Eddie Kingston put his Ring of Honor World title, as well as that as the New Japan Openweight Championship. And of course, we have a chance to have a Continental Classic champion in AEW as well. We've had the Gold League. I'm not going to do my Spandau Ballet today. We've had the Blue League. Going to keep my Eiffel 65 to the side as well. But what I would say is that it's been two very interesting brackets, two great tournaments, and we've had some great matches leading to what we've got now as this final. Jon Moxley, of course, winning the Gold League, overcoming Jay White and Swerve Strickland in a freeway this past week on Dynamite, an absolute banger, let's be fair. And Eddie Kingston, who lost the first two matches in the Blue League, to come back and not only get himself into the semi-final position, but arguably, and I say arguably, pick up potentially the biggest win in his career. I know he's won championships, but to beat Bryan Danielson, that's a top guy in AEW, to get himself in this final position. And we mentioned this earlier in the stream. These two are no strangers to one another. They've been best friends. They've been rivals. And Jon Moxley has said pretty much after this, I'm already in your head. You know you can't beat me. I know I can beat you. You're already going to start making those excuses, but the people love you and you should bring 100%. And Kingston kind of laughed it off. And I think Kingston said he's going to bring everything when it comes to this Saturday. So first off, as a concept, I want to know what you felt of the Continental Classic. Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, man. Like the idea of tournament style brackets and league tables and stuff like that is, like I said at the start of the show, it's always great because it's always a case of one win or one loss can always just dramatically change the outcomes, especially because there's like so few competitors that a single win can bump you from bottom to top in, like, do you know what I mean? From just winning one match. So it's always an exciting prospect. And like I said, the way that even going into the final week that there was, do you know what I mean, a possibility of three different people still winning one side of the league is, do you know what I mean? It adds that more excitement to it. My only issue with it is the fact that at the start of the tournament, when Eddie gave up the two titles, it was kind of like, even I said that just as a whim, I thought, oh, well, that means Eddie's getting to the final of that tournament. And to see it play out, I think that's probably the biggest disappointment for me. Like, it seemed like the dumbest thing to do to give up two titles, but then it's like the easiest thing to predict that he's going to be in the final of this tournament.
I'll be honest, I actually thought the final of this tournament was going to be Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland. I completely got this off, and I see where you're coming from, but I thought Kingston was going to almost self-implode. I thought the idea for him was that he was going to, put too much on the line, lose everything from having it all, and I thought we were going to see like another one of these, I suppose, fall away Eddie Kingston moments, maybe a heel turn, maybe sort of desperately chase other championships. I thought we were going to get something different, but and I just thought with Bryan Danielson's last year, I thought he could have been leading the Ring of Honor side. I thought he could have an AEW championship. I thought he could even get his excuse to do a bit of Japan before he retires. But it looks like that's not the case. You said you predicted that would be the case. Eddie Kingston's there, and here he is. And I think the big thing is now, obviously, he doesn't beat Jon Moxley when it comes to these matches. But again, we're in the Nassau Coliseum. We're in New York. That crowd is going to be heavily behind Eddie Kingston. And this is where I slightly disagree with Jones's comment earlier on, because I don't see Eddie Kingston as one of the top players in AEW. I see him as a mid-carder. I see this as an opportunity to really make a breakout star in Eddie Kingston. Not only where he's the Ring of Honor World Champion, but actually he's moving up the pecking order, because he would have beat Claudio, he would have beat Bryan Danielson, and he would have beat Jon Moxley within a space of a few weeks. And let's be honest, that's the entire BCC. That's a main event scene in AEW. Could a new star be built in Eddie Kingston? Is he your prediction, or are you going Jon Moxley?
I mean, I am going with Eddie Kingston. I mean, just to play off what you said a minute ago about Bryan Danielson being in this final here would have made all the sense especially with him going to Wrestle Kingdom in a couple of weeks and having a match there. Him walking in as a Triple Crown champion in that match would have been it would have just been something to add to it, maybe. But yeah, I mean, I'm going with Kingston just on the pure fact that it seems to be that's what they're doing with him and building Eddie up to be this big star. My only issue is that they've had ample opportunities to build Eddie Kingston up in previous attempts, like I said, in his previous feuds where he's been so hot, and then they just kill it off automatically. And like I said, for me, when he gave up the titles, and I just predicted, oh well, he's getting to the final, and now it's against Moxley, and we had that promo last night where Moxley goes, "Oh yeah, you've never beaten me," blah blah blah. I know it's an old trope, but it's kind of like you've already given away the result of the match there. You're already telling me that Eddie Kingston is going to win this one. Sure, it'll make him a bigger star and it'll make him this Triple Crown and give him this special whatever championship this is that they're going to give him, like another one that AEW really doesn't need. But yeah, I think like they've just said, they've had ample opportunities before to make Eddie Kingston a top main event player, and the fact that they're doing it this way, I just think it's probably it's probably out of every opportunity they've had, this is probably the least favourable one I would have chosen.
Interesting, very interesting indeed. Well, let's see what our comments have got to say. And as I say, just to clarify, I will also go with Eddie Kingston to pick up the victory. I think this is his big breakout moment, if you will, with the AEW side of things, not just the Ring of Honor. Jonesy also thinks Eddie is winning here. Temple says that Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley in the final makes perfect sense. Both are best friends. Both are from the same city near enough. Mox to put over Eddie is a cherry on top. Of course, I believe that Jon Moxley from Cincinnati, if I'm not mistaken. And Tom's got a bit of some of his breaking news here for us. Now it says Zelina Vega's come to terms with WWE on seeing a new multi-deal with the company. The exact length has not been disclosed, but W sources have reportedly confirmed it. Thank you very much, Tom, for sharing that information with us here on the stream. For those that were wondering,
she's gonna win a title this year. I guarantee it.
Interesting. I'd like to see that happen. Eric does reckon does MJF leave on Sunday? Win, lose, or draw? No, he's staying with AEW, I believe.
Yeah, I would have thought so as well. I think he's too perfectly suited for AEW.
I don't believe what he's said, where he says he's not signed in, or he's not. He's purposely waiting. I reckon that deal is already signed, but that's just my opinion. Charlie says, "I love that the Continental Classic felt like the exact type of thing AEW's needed of late too. I got Kingston all the way, so it feels like he is a heavy favorite at this point." Jonesy says Swerve has not moved on with the momentum from beating Hangman at the last PLE. Again, I sort of slightly disagree with that. I think that the crowd are really hyped for Swerve every time he comes out. I understand he didn't win this tournament. I had him in to be in this final, but I still think big things are in the making for Swerve. I don't think it's been harmed too much.
I can understand where Jonesy's coming from. Like, they've not exactly moved into the next gear with Kingston. With Swerve, and decided to push him up the next level. I mean, like, I think if he'd won this and been a Triple Crown champion and then gone on to face whoever the AEW World Champion is, it kind of would have been almost a bit overkill to have like 4 titles on the line in one match, I think. So I can see where he's coming from, but like I'm not overly like, I expect the match to be really good, but I think this Swerve Keith Lee match is just filler for me for Swerve until his time is there to actually go up to the main event scene.
Yeah, I mean, we get onto that match very soon, but I do agree that's kind of filler. But what I would say is that when you look how reactions he's getting, the fact he got to the semi-finals, if you want, of this Continental Classic, I mean, that was the hardest group without question. The fact he didn't actually get pinned in that final match either. He's being protected and big things are coming for him. Yeah. It's just a case of when, not if, I think, with Swerve Strickland for sure.
Just to ask, wasn't he the one, he didn't get pinned in the semi-final either, did he? Because it was a triple threat.
No, Jay White took the pinfall.
So, that's all right. So that's how they protected him. That's right. Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonesy believes that Moxley's gone soft on his hardcore style, it seems. I mean, he can't bleed every single week, can he?
Moxley's kind of like Goldberg. He just walks to the ring and he's already bleeding.
Exactly. It's usually the case there. Do you believe that, I mean, Jonesy obviously disagrees with the Eddie Kingston comments I've made there. Do you think Eddie Kingston has had a huge push before this? Is the Ring of Honor World Championship that big a push, or do you reckon that this tournament is a bigger push for him? When's the breakout?
I mean, like I said, I think he's had opportunities, even without even titles. Like he's had so many good stories where, like, you sit and go, I can actually see Eddie Kingston now going for this main event title. And like I've already said my things on ROH before, unless it's on a weekly show and they don't put it behind a paywall. I mean, it's pointless. Like I only sort of catch bits and pieces of ROH, so I'm not really as invested in ROH as what I could be. And I think, like I said, it needs a TV airing, or it needs to be, I don't know, just put stuff on YouTube. Like I don't even see nothing on YouTube about it. So yeah, I think, like I said, I think the ROH title is a bigger deal than. I think some people make the ROH title a bigger deal than what it actually is. And it's not to discredit it. Like I said, I just think it's not getting enough airtime and enough recognition.
I feel for me as well, and this is probably my last saying with this, why I think as well Eddie Kingston makes the most sense to win this tournament is because of the fact that I think you mentioned some of those bigger names, for example. Yes, it's great for the ROH brand, but it doesn't really do their stock in him. What's Swerve going to do with the ROH World Championship? It doesn't really push him further up the pecking order. If anything, it actually goes him go to the arguably NXT brand of AEW. Yeah. So it doesn't really do much for him in that way. But he has been able to have big matches with big talents and pick up victories. He was seen alongside as John Moxley and Jay White, which is a big deal.
That's actually the perfect definition for ROH. Is the 2017-18 definition of black and gold NXT when it was only on the network, and if you wanted to watch it, you had to pay to watch it. It's exactly what ROH is at the minute.
Absolutely. Well, just on that topic, Charlie gives his takes, doesn't think that Eddie is one of the top guys either, although he's believable and beloved enough that you can put him in the top feud of anyone at any point and people would back it. And I agree, because Eddie Kingston, he has the believable factor. When it comes to wrestling, it feels real to him. When he says a promo, you feel those words. He's really strong at what he does when it comes to that promo.
Yeah, like for me, he feels very much like the Kevin Owens equivalent. Like everybody loves him for everything he does, his wrestling, his promos, and everything. And it's like you can't not be mad when someone like that is pushed to the top of the card, and like it gets a massive reaction out of everyone when someone like that is like finally getting their opportunity.
Absolutely, and this will be a big opportunity in front of a hometown crowd as well this Saturday. Temple says that Swerve is not buried. Neither is Jay White or anyone in the C2. They all performed. There is only going to be one winner, so all your favourites can't win at the same time. I enjoyed the story in the C2, and you know what? So did I. Thought they played out very, very well. It took a lot of TV time. That's the negative part. It's affected some of the other storylines going into this, but as a tournament, as a concept, I think it's been a lot of fun. I do hope it returns next year.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they just start it, like you said, a little bit earlier, and they just go to, again, I hate comparing it to WWE, but like how the breakout tournaments have gone in NXT, like it needs to be a case of having one match on the show every week just to sort of space it out a bit. Like you can really make the most out of that tournament by just dragging it out a little bit more.
Absolutely, indeed. And apparently, the title has been linked, which is great. And apparently, it's gorgeous as well, according to Temple, which is good to see. And Tom says the ratings have gone up for Dynamite this week as well, which is good to see on a go home week, obviously before a pay per view.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of it's self-explanatory in itself, especially with so much going on, with so much playing into the pay per view at the weekend.
Absolutely. A big thank you to Charlie. Look after yourself, and thank you for the kind words. Like and subscribe, people, indeed, and enjoy the rest of your evening. I know he'll have a good one for sure. But we will move on in the meantime onto the next match, and we'll talk about the TNT title a little bit already in the stream. So let's talk about Christian Cage versus Adam Copeland in a no disqualification match. Of course, these two had the match in Montreal after Adam Copeland was not going to face Christian Cage. Cage did try to put Adam Copeland out for good. Of course, when Adam Copeland looked to get revenge, he took out Killswitch, aka Luchasaurus, and he took out Nick Wayne. Of course, that was in front of Nick Wayne's mother. And when it came to the match in Montreal, Nick Wayne's mother actually took out Adam Copeland, siding with Christian Cage. And of course, Christian Cage has now took a bit of time off, got major heat for not even being at the show, and Tony Schiavone doing a promo for him. Fair play to Christian for that. And when he did return on Collision, and the challenge had been put out for him for this show in a no DQ match, and he said he would accept it because, well, it's not really a challenge. He's already beat Adam Copeland. He believes he can do it again, and now his family is complete. And of course, when you see that the family is complete, of course, it's Nick Wayne and his mother that was in ring. I didn't see Killswitch, so keep an eye out for that when I come to make the prediction. But your thoughts of Christian Cage versus Adam Copeland? Of course, this past week on Dynamite, they were supposed to have a face-to-face interview, and Adam Copeland basically just beat up Christian Cage from behind and have a nice big pull apart. It kind of reminded me of WrestleMania 36 of Edge and Randy Orton, when they had that sort of empty arena match.
I like your comparison. For me in general, the story, I've enjoyed the story. I think Christian is one of the best heels in AEW at the minute, and he's been a complete scumbag about it, and I love it. And the fact that he's got Nick Wayne's mum as now part of the faction is just, do you know what I mean? It's such a plot twist, and you just gotta love it. And like, I'm looking forward to it for the pure fact of the story with this one. And like, I'm expecting some proper screwy stuff in this one. Like, I imagine that it's not going to be a clean finish.
No, I don't think it's going to be a clean finish either, but I do think we are going to get a, let's say, decisive end to this rivalry for the meantime, because I mentioned to keep an eye on a comment earlier on, the idea of what Temple Place said, the idea of a Jack Perry versus Christian Cage reunited feud. I actually think that would be the best thing AEW could do, because my reasoning for it is that I think that Killswitch will make a return here, and I think he's going to cost Christian Cage, whether it's going to be accidental or on purpose. The teases of them two having a breakup have been going on as long since, well, Luchasaurus was the TNT champion. Remember, it was Christian Cage who won the title from him in a three-way that featured Darby Allin. I believe that was just a short time after the All-In or All-Out show that actually took place. So Christian Cage has been the champion since. He's been unhappy with Killswitch. Killswitch was taken out. And if Christian Cage has not been checking on, and he's sort of moved on with his family since, with Nick Wayne and his mum, maybe Killswitch might come in and actually help Adam Copeland pick up the win here, whether it's accidentally or on purpose, leading to a Killswitch Christian Cage feud, which I think then would be making sense to bring Jungle Boy back to reunite the Jurassic Express. But that's me fantasy booking. I will still stick with Adam Copeland, though, picking up the victory.
I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to say that Copeland wins, but I'm going to say Christian remains champion. I don't see Christian losing that title. Do you know why? And this is my biggest gripe, is like, every time we ever had a Christian and Edge feud, it was always Edge that came out on top. Every single time, Christian was never given a W in a feud or a storyline with them too. And for me, just to see something fresh, I'd really like Christian just to remain as champion. I think you're right. Killswitch could very much be involved, but I think it will be a DQ win and Christian will remain champion. I can't see Christian losing that title, especially if they're going to bring back Jack Perry possibly in the Battle Royal. It makes more sense for Jack Perry to chase that title that Christian's got. And yeah, man, it's just, I can't see Christian walking out of that building without that title coming at the weekend.
He'll have to win, though, because it's a no DQ match.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. Okay, I didn't realize that. Then no, I'm going to go for. Oh yeah, it says on the screen. I wasn't even paying attention. No, then I'm going to go with Christian to win. I think that it just makes more sense. Like I said, I'm sick of Edge beating Christian, if I'm honest, and I want to see it go the other way for once.
Well, I mean, it would be a nice change of pace if Christian was to keep that title, and he has been doing some of the best work of his career. There's no doubt about that. But just to say very quickly, Temple, we will be getting to the women's matches very, very soon, so don't worry about that. We will get there. But Temple says, would have liked this match between Edge, always call him Edge, way too many Adams in AEW, but I would have liked to see them have a ladder match. I'm actually surprised that this wasn't a steel cage match. Edge or Adam Copeland used to do a lot of Hell in a Cell matches to close his feuds up in the latter days of WWE, but the ladder match certainly would have been very fitting, considering both of these guys' history. Certainly would not have been against that at all.
Yeah, I think it would have been a little bit more poetic if they'd done a gimmick match like that.
Absolutely, indeed. And Joseph says that Christian will win with Nick Nemeth's help. He believes that Nick Nemeth will debut at this show. It would be a very interesting way for him to debut if that was to be the case.
See, I don't know. For me, having Nick Nemeth come in and being an understudy for Christian doesn't work for me. Like, it could do, but like I said, off the top of my head, I couldn't see it working.
Mainly because of the fact he has a family. He seems like it's like bringing in the young guns, obviously, like meant to be like his sons. I mean, Nemeth is more like a brother at this point, isn't it? When it comes to age and stuff like that. But who knows? Maybe Christian started fathering very early.
That's really worrying, you know that, right?
It is a bit worrying. That's why we're going to say allegedly.
Does that mean they bring in his brother as well, and they're like they're the siblings as a part of the family? They're the twins.
I wouldn't rule anything out at this point. This storyline's been wacky and wild, but certainly a fun suggestion from Jonesy nonetheless. We've been asked for women's wrestling. Let's deliver, shall we? The TBS Championship, Julia Hart versus Abadon. I will keep this brief if you don't mind, because I'm pretty much giving the information of the match. Kind of listening to the prediction in hand for me. The fact that we've had this Julia Hart and Sky Blue finally united. It's been coming for a while. It feels the feud with Abadon has been brewing as well until Thunder Rosa, and she made the save a couple of weeks ago on Collision. We had a tag team match between the two teams, which of course Thunder Rosa picked up the win against Sky Blue, and of course well, Julia Hart has had still issues with Chris Statlander as well. Sky Blue picking up the win against Chris on, which was the Dynamite this past week. But my feeling is that we looked and go back to that Collision. Thunder Rosa is the one that's picking up wins for that team, not Abadon going into the show. So Abadon doesn't really go in warm at all. Makes me think Julia Hart is going to retain. And I think long term, we could be looking to Julia Hart versus Thunder Rosa. What do you feel?
I'd be much more excited for a Julia Hart Thunder Rosa. That's kind of my feeling as well. Like, I wasn't expecting Abadon by any means necessary to walk out with this title at the weekend. So yeah, for me, I had Julia Hart down to win all along. It's this is what I mean by some of these matches. Like, they just seem to be like the most pointless thing to throw on a card. Like, I understand there's obviously a lot of stick for not having enough women's wrestling on the show, but for the sake of just having a match on the show that's already got like 9 other matches, it seems a bit like tedious, really.
Absolutely, indeed. Yeah, no, I understand it, but it's good to have the women's matches on the show. It's good to have the championship matches there as well. It's just that Abadon hasn't really been booked that much. She's sort of come out of nowhere. I mean, Jonesy says here, been booked a bit of a joke, really, in this situation. She's certainly got much momentum going in at this moment. But Tom, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for checking out the stream. But to go into other people's predictions, Jonesy believes that Julia Hart is winning. Eric Douglas goes to say the same. And as well as that, also Eric asked the question about Paige Van Zandt, where she's been. I believe she's been spending more time, it feels, with the OnlyFans accounts or whatever the accounts that she has going on, rather than actually focusing on professional wrestling. But hey, Instagram will probably tell you more than I can, if we're being quite honest. Let's go into no comments. All we can say on that, really. But Temple says Edge had the edge heads in Hawkins and Zack Ryder, so Christian Cage could have the Nemeth brothers. Loves it. There we go. There's a bit of a way around that as well. There, woo woo. You know it and you love it.
And then you can have Adam Copeland bring in Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder.
It would be interesting. Oh, the Prime Eyes has re-signed with Impact Wrestling, or should I say TNA? It's not going to be possible, but Matt Cardona would have been.
No, it would have been so impressive. That would have been such a great twist on it. It would have been so funny.
It would have been great. I mean, I would have been always ready for it. I won't lie. Sorry, I'm here all week. Dolph does his best work as a heel. I can see him and Christian like a modern day Triple H and Mr. Perfect partnership like they did in 1996. It would work for sure. Both can betray arrogance. They certainly can betray arrogance. That certainly is one thing for sure. Jones says that Jamie Hayter is on her way back in. Absolutely. Hopefully she is on her way back very soon. She's been on the shelf for a while. But I think she'll be going for the other women's championship if and when she does come back in. Daz asking how Sting and Darby don't have a match. Good news, Daz, they do. We'll be talking about it later on in the stream. It's an 8-man tag team match. They'll be teaming with Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. But we mentioned Swerve Strickland. Let's go back his match with Keith Lee. Keith Lee's been kind of subtly calling out Swerve for weeks, to the point that, well, no one knew that who Keith Lee was calling out. Neither did Swerve. So Keith Lee basically name-dropped him on Collision, and now Swerve is not doing anything after not winning the Continental Classic. Swerve said, well, I'll be in New York this Sunday or this Saturday, and then the contract was presented to him. So this match is on. We've been waiting for this for a long time. The tag team, or one of the tag teams of the year last year, the breakup took place, and it's been 12 months. It's almost been in the back pocket of Tony Khan, thinking, I'll wait for the right opportunity to give this match, to the point when fans have kind of given up on it. I'm glad to see it, because it's a match that should happen. It's an opportunity for Keith Lee to try and break out, because he's got very lost in the shuffle in AEW, let's be brutally honest. However, again, I'm sorry, NXT, just jumping predictions straight away, because this one, it feels quite obvious to me. I don't see anything other than Swerve win. His momentum is skyrocketing right now, and this is where I disagree with Jonesy, because of the fact that although it may feel like a filler match, it's going to keep that momentum of Swerve winning after not winning the Continental Classic against main eventers, and he can push on to top guys going into 2024.
Yeah, I think for me that's the biggest worry, is what Keith Lee's going to do next. I mean, I have the same prediction. this is just to keep Swerve busy and out of the something even starting to do outside the title picture at the minute. It sucks seeing Keith Lee take losses like this on pay-per-views, but Swerve is the hottest thing that they've got going at the minute, and it's kind of like you need to keep his momentum going, and he needs a win. He needs a clean one as well. It can't be a screw finish as well. I think if you want to keep Swerve hot, he needs to beat Keith Lee, and he needs to beat him clean.
I mean, would love to see a Keith Lee push, but it's certainly it feels like he's at least getting TV time now in AEW, but it's certainly not enough. But it's good to see him back on pay-per-view. It's a start, and hopefully it can lead to somewhere going forward after this, because like I said, Keith Lee does deserve a good push in AEW. He's certainly one of their he's one of the more unique talents that they've got. He's certainly very aerial for a big man, and I think he'll be presented in a good way should they choose to do so. But we've both gone for Swerve. Jonesy asked the question, what happened to Keith Lee? That was insane from AEW. I'm presuming this match is being used to turn Swerve babyface, which is the long-term plan. I'm not sure the sourcing, Jonesy, but let me know the sourcing. But what I would say is that I can't disagree with that comment of a potentially Swerve babyface run, even though the fact that Swerve is, let's be fair, pure evil in AEW, breaking into a man's house where his child was in his bed, but yet the fans want to go babyface on Swerve Strickland because the guy's been cheered so much. They may actually have no option to go with a babyface Strickland in AEW.
I think it'd be safer to keep him as tweener. I think you can't automatically keep doing it with people and just turning them babyface. He's just got to keep doing what he's doing, unfortunately. I think that's the problem sometimes, is that it needs to be a naturally progressive turn into a babyface. They can't just do it instantly overnight. Like I said, this was only a couple of weeks ago that he was getting his, do you know what I mean? Some guy was drinking his blood in a match, do you know what I mean? And like you said, he was breaking into someone's house where his kid was and all this kind of stuff. And that needs to be, for me, that has to be a point where I think he's in an AEW world title match, and this is the point where he's going to win that championship, and then that's the point where he naturally progressively turns to a babyface. Like I say, I think they just need to keep him as a tweener at the minute.
I dare mention these three letters because I know we'll go back to the Devil conversation. I'm trying to keep that for the main event of the stream, but MJF, the way he turned into a babyface and the way that's happened going forward, it was so organic the way it was done. It transitioned slowly, it transitioned well, and they had a chance to pull the trigger 2 or 3 times. They didn't do it, but I can see the fan base is really behind Swerve Strickland. It's going to be hard to not have a fan base cheering him if they're going to continue to do good things with him. So I see where the idea is there, the long-term plan. It looks like it is the long-term plan. How they execute it is going to be fascinating to see, because like you say, right now on storytelling, they need to keep him edgy at this point, because that's what's got him over to begin with. Temple here says that, sorry, you were going to say something I felt there.
No, go for it.
Temple says Keith Lee needs to go back to Ring of Honor. No disrespect to him or any kind. I'm a massive fan, but let's send him over there to build him up, and maybe win the TV title. Something we didn't win. It was Carl Fletcher on the TV title, but totally understand where you're coming from. He's someone that could benefit going to that brand right now. And Eric Douglas says I still remember him throwing Isaiah Cassidy. So far, he's still landing. That was freaking awesome, to be fair. Back when they did that. Temple here says to save Jericho's story to be half decent, the Sex Gods win the tag team titles when Kenny Omega comes back. We have the Sex Gods versus the Golden Lovers. Potentially that could be a good idea. Well, I'll tell you what, that wasn't the next match was due to talk about, but we will make it the next match to talk about, because I know Daz was here asking about this as well. So let's go into it. Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Sting, Darby Allin versus Ricky Starks, Big Bill, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Carl Fletcher. Anyone else said that Starks and Hobbs are on the same team? Former Team Taz stuff going on there. So this story is basically the same thing as what happened. Do you remember with AR Fox? And he was with Swerve Strickland going into Wembley, and then like a few days out from the show, because AR Fox couldn't go, they did about a month's worth of storytelling in 5 minutes. So the match was supposed to be, the Golden Jets, wasn't it? Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega versus Ricky Starks, Big Bill. That had been built up as well, the backstage attacks as well. But then Kenny Omega has been put out indefinitely. Wish him a speedy recovery, obviously. Not nice with the injury that he's got. So what they decided to do this week was do a pretty long segment to try and build this match out of nothing. So obviously Chris Jericho needed to perhaps find a partner if he was going to go against Starks and Big Bill. And obviously, Don Callis family got involved with this as well. They were sort of celebrating with Boxing Day gifts. On the off chance that Sammy Guevara came back, which he did, they had a gift for him as well. Sammy Guevara pretty much turned face in the promo battle with Don Callis, being upset with him for no phone calls, no congratulations on his child. And obviously, Callis pretty much saying that Guevara was a disappointment, been missing for 5 months. When will he turn up to work and spending time with his baby in maternity leave? Sammy Guevara took offense to the picture. We saw a beatdown with the group kicking Guevara out. Jericho makes the save. Jericho and Guevara are now on the same page. Looks like they'll be the tag team going forward. Starks and Big Bill attack them. And then all of a sudden, we see Darby and Sting get involved on the action. And boom, there is your 8-man tag. NXT, madness pretty much. But we've got a match and we've got a lot of people on the card. At least it's something positive we could say here.
A massive hodgepodge that you really could have just not had on the card. This one has no storyline, just common sense going into it. Like you said, Jericho and Guevara fell out last time. All of a sudden, I kind of get it that Jericho didn't want to fall out with Guevara, and it was Guevara that fell out with Jericho. Sting and Darby in another tag team match, and then you've got your tag team champions again. Like you said, you've got Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs on the same team, and it's just like, this makes no sense from a kayfabe point of view. This is just the most baffling match on the card. Can't understand it. Don't understand why it's on the card, but hey, sure. I mean, I would have preferred just dragging the story out. If they were going to do Guevara and Jericho versus Starks and Big Bill, I would have preferred them just to have dragged it out and gone to the next pay-per-view or whatever they were going to do.
Yeah, potentially. Or they could have done a 3-way, a 4-way, I don't know, maybe something like that rather than actually an 8-man tag. Then the tag team titles are actually on the line here because Sting and Darby still haven't challenged for those tag team titles at this point. But like you mentioned, great point. Sammy and Jericho were actually rivals when Sammy went away, but now they're friends now that they've come back. And look, let's be fair, one thing positive, the fans were actually really into this in Orlando on Dynamite this past week. So at least that's something positive to say. As for a prediction, as Temple said a minute ago, it makes sense for Jericho and Guevara potentially to win tag titles later down the line. Well, it makes sense for them to win this match to actually face Starks and Big Bill for those tag team titles. Sting and Darby Allin, Sting's retirement tour. Will Ric Flair turn up? We'll have to wait and see. But I imagine the babyfaces pick up the win here. And we've got one Carl Fletcher who's there to take a pinfall.
Yeah, that's the exact statement I had. I was just having a look on Pro Fight DB. Why haven't Darby and Sting ever had a tag team title match? He's never lost in AEW. They've got the best record as a tag team in general. They're 100% for 100%. Why haven't they had that? Is Sting's retirement year, you would think at least at some point they give him a tag team title. Do you know what I mean? That just doesn't make sense for me. That is the most baffling thing. Look, so what I said. This is just a hodgepodge of booking. I don't understand it at all. But yeah, I'm the same. Sting and Darby Allin. You can't have Sting's not going to lose. That's the thing. These two never lose. That's why I just had to double check myself. They never lose tag team matches. Sting and Darby are going to win. And like you said, Carl Fletcher's in there. He's the guy that's going to take the pinfall.
He's perfect guy on a you know he's the Ring of Honor television champion, but that's like we said, that's pretty much the NXT North American champion at this point. You can eat the pinfall on a main roster show, if you will. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If the rankings were still there, Sting and Darby should have got a tag team title run by now. But the rankings went quite a while ago. But hey, we're going for the baby faces. Let's see what our comments have got to say. Actually, to be fair, Eric here says, I don't know if you know this, but Carl Fletcher kind of looks like more like D-Bag Hazy. Not a clue who that is, to be fair, Eric. But thank you anyway. We appreciate it. Temple says, don't hate me on this, but turn Keith Lee heel. If you have your Swerve as his babyface, you have Keith Lee and the Don Callis family. It's something to do with Keith Lee. I'll take anything if Keith Lee's doing it on TV at the moment.
I don't think I've actually ever seen a heel Keith Lee, so I like the sound of that.
I'll be interested in that indeed there. Looks like not so much interest, unfortunately, in the 8-man tag team match. Will there be an interest, though, in this match? Miro versus Andrade El Idolo. Well, now, let's be fair, CJ Perry, of course, is Miro's wife. And Miro pretty much hates the idea that CJ has looking to get clients to be managerial material, if you will, in AEW. It's a bit of a baffling storyline, and he promised CJ that he wouldn't attack Andrade, CJ's client, during the Continental Classic. However, he's not in that anymore, so now he wants to have a match with him, and it's put here for World's End. Yeah, what do you reckon?
again, another one where I'm like, I don't understand. Like, it's just a case of, I want to fight you because my wife is your manager. Like when CJ first turned up and he acted like she was a ghost, I would have been more impressed that they'd gone with more of a Ghostbuster storyline. Do you know what I mean? And she's a spectral, like a figment of his imagination. But I don't know, man. This is such a random match to have. Like, hey, I'm glad Miro's back on a pay-per-view card. I'm glad Andrade's on a pay-per-view card. It's just kind of like, for me, this is like second match on the card, Jobber. You have a great opening match. This is the second match on the card, just to chill everyone out and just to be a little bit of filler between that and the third match.
Absolutely. To be fair, what I will say is in positiveness, I remember when they put Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs just randomly on All Out, and I was like, okay. I wasn't excited for the match, but I was like, I'm sure it'd be a good match. I feel the same with this. And it was actually one of the best matches on that card, it felt, when I was watching it. And I was like, oh, this is really good, much better than I expected. I think this match has that potential as well, because Andrade is a fantastic wrestler. He's doing great work. Miro is having great matches as well. But it's interesting to see what's going to happen with the prediction. But I'm going to go into the comments first, because before we give a prediction, we've got two people saying the same thing. Jonesy, with the first one, is saying that Miro wins, CJ Perry returning and joining him. Eric's saying the same thing, that CJ will turn on Andrade to join Miro. Do we see it as a possibility, or do we see the idea that Miro, I mean, he said basically that he thought God was stopping him. Now he thinks that CJ is the reason it's going to be stopping him, and maybe that should be the reason he doesn't win.
What was the point in having her manage Andrade then? Again, like I said, this storyline just makes no sense. Again, this is pure filler. This is a match that we could have had on Dynamite or Collision, or it makes no sense for me. Like, what's there to benefit by CJ Perry turning a heel on Andrade? Unless Andrade's got some sort of, I don't know, unless he's got a female tag team partner and we get some sort of mixed match tag team challenge kind of thing going on. I don't know, but I don't know, man. This is really just like, I'll be honest with you, I'm looking forward to the match, but everything else, I've got no care in the world for it. I hate to say it, but I just do not care.
No, I feel the same. I don't really care either. What I will say is that I actually prefer the idea the comments have suggested, but I do feel Andrade is going to win this on a bit of a roll right now, and I think that CJ could be the factor that Miro doesn't win, because it just makes the most sense for the story. It just makes sense for the story for me. But at the same time, I like their idea more, so I kind of hope their idea happens. Although I agree, what was the point? But the only thing I will say is, people, it was asked in the stream, will MJF go to WWE after this? No, he won't. I think he'll stay in AEW, but I think Andrade is going to WWE in 2024. I think he's got about another 6 months on that contract, and I think he'll be straight out the door the first given opportunity to go back to the E. So, yeah, it depends if they want him to be winning en route to that, or if they want him to be losing. So that could be a factor as well.
That's the only reason why I'm probably going to disagree with you and just say Miro wins on this one, just for the pure fact that if Miro is there for the long term, I think building Miro up is probably the more important goal. Like, they've done nothing with Andrade since he's been there. They've done nothing with either of them. Again, this is what I mean. This booking just doesn't make sense. So I'm just going to go with Miro on the basis that he's probably going to be around longer.
There you go. That's us pretty much not caring. That's pretty much it.
The fact that we have to make a decision on who's going to win this by the fact that who's going to be in the company longer sums it up.
There you go. Eric says this is a match that no one should lose, really. And to be fair, for both of their momentums, I kind of agree with him on that. But he would like to see them in title contention, to be honest with this one. Temple was actually looking ahead further from this match. Must have Miro as a pick there, because he sees him to beat Orange Cassidy in further down the line. Jones also suggestions that you could pair Thunder Rosa with Andrade or Camille. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But for now, Andrade is with CJ Perry, and obviously we see, I think, Andrade on his way to WWE. Zelina Vega is calling him. Could be, if the LWO is no longer a thing. But if Andrade stays in AEW, they should sign Selena De Renta from LRW. She manages Rouge in CMLL and Triple R. Of course, not the batteries, Triple R. But there you go. We'll move on in the meantime, and we will go to a match that's defined as timeless. The AEW Women's World Championship, Timeless Toni Storm versus Riho. Riho making a return to the company after quite a long, lengthy absence. Beat, I believe it was Ruby Soho to get the #1 contendership. And since then, it's been kind of, Toni Storm and Riho, but Mariah May's been in the background. We've seen May actually have a beatdown on Riho. Riho chasing Mariah May this week as well on Dynamite. And also a big sort of high crossbody done off the top rope from Riho onto Storm and Luther on the floor. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of build going to this one, but they're two great workers. My only question mark with this match of why I'm not more excited for it actually is because as much as I enjoy the timeless Tony Storm gimmick, sometimes the gimmick going into the match does take away from Tony Storm's, in my opinion, the performance. I thought the match at Full Gear was probably the weakest on the show. And I think Tony Storm's incredible in ring. She's one of the best wrestlers that AEW have got, probably in the wrestling world as well. But does the timeless character take away from the in-ring ability that she has because she actually favors more to the character rather than in-ring performance? And should that matter?
You'd like to think not. Like there's been other people that have had, I'd probably say, much bigger characters, but their wrestling has also been, like, for instance, like one off the top of my head, Velveteen Dream. His character was immense outside of the ring, and when he got into the ring, his character just went like it was part of him when he was wrestling. So I don't know if it's a case of the character's not transitioning into the ring, maybe. Possibly, I don't know, but I know what you mean. It seems to be like we did this when we did our top 5 women of the year, and I turned around and put Toni Storm in there. And the character work is fantastic, but like the matches are just so. Again, you don't know if this is a whole booking thing where like the women aren't getting enough time. There's not enough build with the stories. Like the character, like so we get these character segments that are fantastic, but there's no rivalry building the story. Like it's all about Tony's character, but not about the rivalry. And like I said, it's kind of a weird one. I know where you're coming from, but like I said, I think there's too many things that are playing into this one to kind of, like I said, for me, I'm just going to say it now. I think Toni Storm's retaining because the story's like it's almost as if like Rio's just filler here. We're just waiting for a bigger story to come along. It's the same with the other match a little while ago we talked about. I forgot because my brain's completely fried and I don't know what we're talking about. But yeah, I just think this is a filler match for Toni Storm until, for instance, Jamie Hayter or someone comes back. I don't know, but like I said, for me, maybe it's just the characters not transitioning into the ring.
I think it's before giving a prediction, I think it's because of the word comedy. It's a comedy character. So when you go into the ring, she starts doing comedy. It takes away from what she does. And I suppose it's a thing of if that's your thing, because I'm usually a big fan of the idea of bringing gimmicks into your in-ring work because that's what separates you from everybody else. You stand out. You're something different. That's something I like. But so far, I feel that because she's more of a comedy character, I feel that it takes away from what she brings into the ring because we know she can bring, performances sometimes match of the nights. We mentioned Jamie Hayter a couple of seconds ago. I think that she will be someone who'll come back and obviously will go for Toni Storm when she returns because obviously Toni took her out to win the AEW Women's World Championship when Jamie Hayter was put on the shelf. So yeah, I think I can see that happening as well. And I do agree as well with not necessarily with the fact that Mariah May could be the one to dethrone her, which Eric says here, but Mariah May could be a long-term story they could be going with as well because Toni Storm kind of is neglecting the idea of Mariah May, and Mariah May needs to be built up. That could be something that could be done perfectly in time for Wembley if they wanted to. But like you're saying, this is filler. Toni Storm is retaining. It's just going to be depending how this match goes down. I think Riho is a talented enough performer that Toni Storm will have to come away from her comedy antics to put on a decent match for the two ladies.
Yeah, maybe that is the idea of it. Maybe the fact is that this is the one match that's finally going to get Toni Storm to get serious about it. Like, we obviously know her whole new finishing move where it's kind of like, what is it called? The close up. But yeah, maybe that is it. Maybe it is. It's just it's a comedy gimmick almost in the wrong position, being like top women's champion. Like it almost seems like it shouldn't fit. So maybe that is it. So yeah, like I said, hopefully this is kind of just more filler for a bigger story along the lines. Maybe Mariah is the bigger story.
Maybe it will be. Jonesy agrees, by the way, that comedy doesn't belong with a serious women's world title. But I don't know if I 100% agree with that. But what I would like to see is I'd like to see the in-ring work transition with it. I don't want to see just comedy. I want to see Toni. Toni can start with it, but then I think she should be forced to be brought out of it to have to go and win these matches without shenanigans, without problems, and then we can get to the match and go, that was a good match, and then she can go back into her character that she provides because then it can work. But at this moment, but we're judging ourselves Full Gear as well, and I think this match is going to be better than the Full Gear match that we were presented to begin with.
Yeah, like no, see, I think I'd have to agree with Jones. I suggested it before the Jonesy comment even come out, and I think
Exactly.
that's the biggest thing for me is that I think with the title around your waist, it has to be a more serious character, and then once they lose the title, they can do all this comedic stuff. And as for as entertaining as it is, do you know what I mean? It's almost like you get the feeling that you can't take her seriously as the AEW Women's Champion.
Yeah, I can. I mean, the thing is, I can see your points of view with it. I can see that. I think it's just too early to make a definitive on that one.
Yeah.
But obviously, Jonesy made reference to Britt Baker. Obviously, she's gone AWOL completely in the last 12 months. She doesn't seem to be on TV whatsoever. But hey, we'll have to wait and see how it will play out. But we're both going for Timeless Toni Storm. And the last comment does come through from Eric Douglas saying that Riho was such a pleasant surprise the first time saw her size. Was like, said that she's one of the smaller wrestlers, but she's an awesome wrestler. So there you go from Eric Douglas. But let's move on in the meantime anyway, and let's go and talk about that main event, shall we? Let's talk about MJF versus Samoa Joe for the AEW World Championship. And I'll give some detail. I'm not going to do the whole thing. We'll be here for about half an hour. Obviously, MJF did defeat Samoa Joe the last time these two met, which of course was at the Arthur Stadium show back in September. That's the place where Adam Cole shattered his ankle. I'm going to say allegedly. I'm not sure I fully believe it, but there you go. We'll get into it in a minute. But since then, obviously, MJF has gone on to defend the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles on his own or with Samoa Joe. Of course, Samoa Joe got into the picture when it got to the Guns at Full Gear. Once again, Joe has pretty much said he wanted to get back into the title scene with MJF. And of course, by helping MJF at the match of Full Gear against the Guns, that's what got Samoa Joe his championship opportunity. MJF retaining against Jay White, of course, later that evening. And of course, since then, Samoa Joe's pretty much said he's going to watch MJF's back, make sure he seems okay. Of course, the Devil storyline has been following MJF around like a bad habit since, pretty much since the start he made its inception, but pretty much definitely from Full Gear, they've stepped it up a notch. The only thing I would say is, though, is that the Devil storyline for me, it's not really worked really the last 6 weeks, but I will talk about more of that in a few minutes' time. But what is the key factor in the last couple of weeks? We've seen MJF attacked by the Devil's Grooms, but we didn't see the attack actually happen. Suggestions made was MJF just laying down. This past week, we actually got a match where those Ring of Honor tag team titles were on the line, and MJF saw Samoa Joe laid out in the back. And obviously, MJF said he was going to still defend those titles, and the numbers game played their part. And within 5 minutes, he lost them to the Masked Men. As Jones has said, are they signed? Are they not? Who knows? We'll find out eventually. One thing we do know is, though, that MJF now only has to worry about the World Championship. You could argue he's let his best friend Adam Cole down. You could argue that. But of course, Samoa Joe came out to make a save for the Masked Men after the match. But of course, it was a ruse because Samoa Joe has done business with the Devil. He must know who the Devil is. And maybe that person's going to help Joe this Saturday. What's been your thoughts with the build with this one? We'll talk about the Devil separately as the next question after that.
I mean, I kind of appreciate the whole Joe character from it, like the fact that he was willing to help MJF defend the ROH tag team titles. Then as soon as he comes up against the Goons, it's kind of a case of, no, I've put you in this position where I'm working with the Devil and the Goons are going to take these tag team titles. Like I really like that aspect of it. My issue is like I'm really worried about this Devil character, and I think it's either going to be really good or really bad, depending on what happens with it. And it's kind of the thing that's overshadowing the whole match itself for me. Like, MJF is already going into this match severely injured, and there's all the dirt sheet stuff that he may be forced to drop it because of injuries and all this kind of stuff. And it's kind of like, I understand that, but for me, the match isn't the biggest story, and I think that's probably the biggest disappointment for it. And that's what I'm really worried about. Because if the match isn't the biggest point, the story better be good enough to justify being bigger than the match.
I like the way you've worded that, because I was sure this was going to end one way. I'm now not as convinced after Dynamite this week. I'll talk about that when we come to the prediction. But obviously, you mentioned there, this is being overshadowed by a Devil storyline. And I'm going to be honest, I have got to the point that I really don't care about the Devil. I couldn't care less who the reveal is. I'm all for long-term storytelling. I really am. I love a whodunit scenario. I love the idea of the mask situation. I like the idea of stables. But this, for me, since Full Gear, has just fell off the pedal. Literally, I feel like that. Honestly, the only thing I found interesting is some of the accusations. Like, I liked the fact that Hangman and MJF had a backstage thing, and then Hangman was the one taken out. Like, I liked that. But the rest of it, I mean, we saw these goons multiply and multiply, and I think there was one point that Joe and MJF took out about like 20 of them. And it just made it feel like the group's looking weaker, and all of a sudden it becomes like retribution of what you saw a couple of years ago. And it's like, well, I don't want to see this. And even worse, and this is where I worry about if Tony Khan can book this storyline. Let's not forget before, and so we're already sadly not with us anymore, but before he came in to rescue the Dark Order, how that started being booked before it actually got the leader and stuff like that. If you go back to the first year of Dynamite back in 2019, and they were all beaten up on the Elite, and it was like really poor angle the way it was all put together and stuff like that. I mean, he hasn't got a good reputation with some of this stuff, and I just worry. And like you say, it all comes down to a name. The reveal is everything. Because if the reveal is good, they have a chance of building it forward. I don't think they continue necessarily with a devil anyway. I think they just go back to the character they are. That's the stable. That's the people that are going to try and take out MJF. But at the same time, if it's bad, I think people they're gonna crap on it, and they're gonna crap on it quick.
And that's my biggest worry. Like I said, like for me, like this is why I don't think at this point right now, this is why I don't think the devil is going to be a wrestler. It doesn't make sense. Because why would you do a deal with Samoa Joe to then let Joe win the AEW World Championship from him on Saturday night or whenever the pay-per-view is? Because I get my days mixed up when it comes to these things. Why do a deal and let Joe win the title? Which is why, for me, if you put someone like Tony Khan as the devil, kind of makes a bit more sense because it's not someone who's ever going to challenge for the world title. It needs to almost be someone in a non-wrestling in a non-wrestling figure or authority or position, like that doesn't have to worry about ever getting in the ring with MJF, and like he's just like essentially he's a Vince McMahon type of character, and he's just the guy that's in charge of a group of men. But then going back onto what you said, the fact that the other week we had MJF and Samoa Joe beat up 20 of these guys. And it's like, unless you're going to have 20 of these guys be part of this faction, really dumb thing to do, because now it really just looks like another poor version of Retribution. Excuse me. So yeah, this is why, like, for instance, if it's Jack Perry, it's going to be a massive disappointment. There's so many names, like, even at this point, even if it's Adam Cole, I think that's going to be a massive disappointment. Because it's almost too easily predictable. Like, I feel like it needs to be someone that just has a complete shock factor about it. Someone that we're not expecting it to be. Like, I don't know, Dixie Carter, for example. Do you know what I mean? Just give me someone that I don't want it to be someone I don't even want it to be someone who's even like been thought of, or do you know what I mean? I don't essentially want it to be a wrestler. I want it to be someone who has a gripe or a vengeance or a grudge against MJF that has done this and put this all together just to get back at him, just to make his life an absolute living hell. And I think if it then turns out to be Jack Perry, it's kind of like, what was the point? Because what was the point in letting Joe face him for the title? It just doesn't make sense.
No, I hear you loud and clear. The thing is, Jones has wrote a lot of things in the comments, and I agree with all of them. So rather than me spew it out, I'm going to put his comments up and say it. These things I 100% agree with. But I don't necessarily say that Cole is the sole devil. And I've said this from the start. I think there is co-devils. I think that there is something. If you go back to example Scream 1 horror movie, for those that haven't seen it, there was two people under the mask playing the Scream characters, playing the person that was doing the slashing. I think that there can be a situation where if Adam Cole was legitimately injured, for example, he doesn't have to be revealed first. He can be revealed later. But I do agree with these comments. It was Adam who told MJF to seek out Samoa Joe's help. They're meant to be good friends, which is also the link then of Roderick Strong saying, well, he's my best friend by proxy. The Kingdom's in there as well. It makes sense for those five guys to all be working together, although Joe hasn't necessarily been under the mask, which means it could be a 6-member stable group. I said Kyle O'Reilly could be the other guy from the start. I'm not changing the prediction just because of the fact that I don't care to change the prediction. I don't care who it is, to be honest, at this point. That's what I stuck with. But it was Adam Cole who convinced MJF to give the rematch as well. And Adam Cole went into business with Joe to further soften him up. I think that all makes sense. And let's be honest now, MJF has lost those tag team titles, the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Adam Cole can feel let down. And like you say, it is the most obvious, but it does make the most sense.
But that's what I mean. But it doesn't make sense to me. Why let Joe win the world up? Like, give him the opportunity to win the world title? Because then what happens when Adam Cole's fit again? Does Adam Cole then turn around and go at Joe and turn around and go, okay, well now it's my turn to win the title off of you? Do you know what I mean? That's the part of the story that doesn't make sense for me in the long term. Is that, like, unless 6 months down the line when Adam Cole's fully fit and back to return, what they all just turn on Joe when he's world champion, or for example, if he wins this title, like, that's the problem I have, is like, I can't understand why I can't understand why the Devil would be someone who's a wrestler. But then, just to say before, when you said like about the scream thing and I held up my 4 fingers, the Devil could be like 4 people at this point. It's a complete plethora of, like, a catalogue of just people who it could be, who have, like, MJF has done up wrong and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's such a confusing one. I just hope, because like I said, the story is bigger than the match, unfortunately, that the story just isn't a letdown.
Let's hope not. I mean, the thing is, the one of the guys that was in that tag team match this past week was a big dude. I've seen the Hammerstone guy's name being thrown around from MLW. Got history with MJF. I mean, that's cool if that's the case.
He's not that tall, though. He's a jacked guy, but he's not that tall.
Okay, fair enough there. I mean, I don't know too much. I've not seen much of his background work anyway. But what I would say is that Wardlow would fit the bill for that. And I think Wardlow would be something that would be interesting. The stable has been calling out MJF for the longest time as well. But I want to see Wardlow as the leader of the group. The only thing I don't want to see the Pinnacle. I don't want to see Jack Perry. I'm not against Tony Khan. Like you said, the authority figure does seem like it could be fun because it's someone that's directing everything that's going on. Wouldn't it be fun if it was Stokely after the firm got completely given the shaft afterwards?
Do you know what? I would absolutely love that. I think that's a great shout. Stokely Hathaway, that is an absolutely fantastic shout. Someone who was done wrong by MJF. I actually love the sound of that.
That's something different, at least, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And then I would imagine, well, let's hope the firm members aren't underneath there. I don't think if people will be too involved with that, but maybe Stokely, with his Ring of Honor days, has maybe built quite a few repertoire names that could be in the repertoire. But the reason I think that it can make sense for this, and let's go into prediction quickly, then we can just do comments. Thought Samoa Joe was winning this, and you mentioned a minute ago, why do this reveal thing on Dynamite when the show was 3 days away? It's because Joe's not winning. MJF is going to overcome these odds here. He's somehow, I mean, the thing is, he may be outnumbered in one way, but he won't be outnumbered because the Nassau Coliseum is going to be behind him. He's got all that crowd there. It's hometown feel, hometown vibe. MJF is a different human being when it comes to being in his hometown. He's going to find a way to retain it, and I think the Devil will be revealed, and that builds to your next big show, whether it's Revolution, whether it's something in between. We'll have to wait and see, but certainly I think that MJF has got one more pay-per-view as world champion after this.
See, I don't know. See, this is the thing. Like, is the bigger story? Is Joe winning the title a bigger deal? Like, I'm not being fun. I wouldn't be against Joe winning and then MJF taking some time off. And then they can almost carry on this Devil persona for, I don't know, 2-3 months, whatever it is. Let Joe have a decent title run as champion, and then bring MJF back. And then, like, just give him a chance to let the storyline breathe almost, and just do something else, and, like, have Joe just hang around with these goons that are in devil masks. Do you know what I mean? Just even give it a bit more time. But like you said, it's hard to go against MJF when he's in front of almost a home crowd favorite, and it's just like it's really hard to go against that. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm going to go with MJF. I think, like, we've seen him do it before, where, like, he's beaten all the odds and just absolutely gone through hell and retained that title. I can probably see him doing it again, and for me, that's why I'm going to go MJF.
I feel like I've gone for every hometown hero. And actually, I'll tell you what, I'm going to slightly change a prediction from the start of the stream. It's just completely wild, but as I've gone for all the hometown people, I actually think the Battle Royal for the TNT title, I'm going to go for John Silver just because it's that hometown vibe again. But yeah, completely out of the realm there. But going back on some more serious matters, yeah, we've gone for MJF there, but let's see what the comments have got to say. I mean, Jonesy was actually, and it's more Devil related here, but was thinking potentially MJF could be in the Devil based on Dynamite, but Adam Cole is the one who will be thrown out there, although Tony Khan would make sense. But let's not forget as well, that would actually make sense of Full Gear because Adam Cole was thrown out there on behalf of Tony Khan. And why the hell was that match going to go ahead against Jay White?
Yeah.
Because as you said, NXT, and you're the one that brought this up when we did a Tony Khan Is He the Devil video, which frankly got over 600 views. That video did very, very well on our algorithms here. Yeah, that would make sense of what was the weird booking that was going on around that period. So that could give something for this.
Yeah, and I mean that's why I made the crazy assumption, like, but because obviously Tony Khan's the biggest mark in wrestling, we know it. That's why the reason why the geezer started a whole wrestling company, and you got to think back to like his era of watching pro wrestling, and he was an attitude guy, and what was one of the biggest factions during WWE during the attitude time. And it was the Nation of Domination. It was the corporation. It was the corporate ministry. Do you know what I mean? And who was the head honcho? Hey, it was Vince McMahon. As much as I'd be terrified to see Tony Khan in a heel boss persona because I don't think he can cut a decent promo to save his life. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's something wacky that he would do. And like, yeah, it's just, unfortunately, we'll have to wait and see whether we actually get a reveal on Saturday now or not.
Well, if you want to see heel Tony Khan cutting promos, go back to Impact Wrestling in the pandemic when he was meant to be funding advertisements on their show and just mocking the show. It's painful stuff. So yeah, I don't think I'd want to see it either, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went down the route.
The guy's got money. Maybe he's had some acting lessons since. That's why we've not seen or heard from him in a while.
You never know. Winnipeg. You never know. It could happen. But at this point, at what point did I lose interest in the storyline? Was it worse than Retribution or the Devil's Stable? I mean, nothing so far is worse than Retribution. That was it got bad to worse to worse to worse to worse. This can still be recovered. It's just the fact that, and I'm all for long-term storytelling. It's just the case that after Full Gear, not much happened. That's my problem with it. Nothing really progressed in storyline telling. Nothing gave me the need of where I'm like, this person's a real suspect. Because every time we got close to that, I mean, Hangman was one of them, which was interesting. He got taken out at the end of the show, which again, I thought was fun at the time. And I can rule Hangman out. But then what happened when it was Swerve? Nothing happened. What happened when it was, other people that were spoken to backstage? Nothing really happened with those people. Why is Roddy Strong not being taken out? He keeps talking about the devil, right? There are things they could have done that I think they have chosen not to do. And the thing is as well, it would make sense in this storyline if the devil himself is someone that has been taken out, because we'll point the fingers at, MJF has been faking it, Samoa Joe's been faking it, but actually the real person has been faking it as well, but you don't suspect them. That would be quite interesting as well. We've just not seen that sort of stuff there, but the reveal now is where you can get interest back in it, or it's gone completely. And I think my other reason of why I've lost interest, I don't have faith that the devil is going to be someone that I think is worthy of playing that role, and I think someone that could have really got over it. Because let's just go make one more comparison here, because it's not possible. It's never going to happen. He's back in WWE. Had CM Punk been that guy after everything had gone on, say the whole thing was a fake story, and he was brought back in, or it was all worked out, and coming into that would have been monumental, because you could have done so much with it. When you're hearing names ruined of it like Jack Perry, you're just like, okay, this does nothing for me. When it's Adam Cole, it's very predictable. Okay, the storyline makes sense, but it's very predictable. So it's just like, and when you hear these other names, like people who's worked with MLW, I've heard of them, but I've never seen them. And most of the viewing public, unless you're hardcore wrestling fans, ain't going to know who they are.
Just on a side note, Hammerstone is actually the same height as MJF, so they're both 6'1". So, but yeah, for me, the devil has to be someone who I think is believable enough to take that world title off of MJF. Exactly. Because if it's not, if it's a Jack Perry, for example, I don't think at any point Jack Perry, at the minute, it's going to take some sort of miraculous, like, sign from God for Jack Perry to end up beating MJF for that world title. And in a minute, there isn't many people on the roster who you could turn around and believably say this is the person they will go on to beat. Like, for instance, if it was Swerve Strickland, sure, why not? Swerve's like hot as anything at the minute. But when you're turning around and telling me that it's Adam Cole, yes, okay, Adam Cole could possibly beat him. Jack Perry, no way. Guy can't beat him for nothing at the minute.
It just would feel weak. It'd feel really bad, wouldn't it? Feel blah.
Yeah.
I said the crowd
feel
went
deflated.
Hard.
Just feel really deflated.
Feel like a lead balloon. That's the feeling. That's the feeling.
Yeah.
Jones asked about hacker stuff as well. Has been dropped with no explanation. That exact same tag match 2 weeks ago that didn't take place. I mean, I'm okay with the tag team match that didn't take place because, like I say, they went with an angle at the point. It's just the fact that and that's when MJF was attacked at that point. It led to some question marks, but I just don't believe MJF is the devil. I know that they can throw the idea that maybe he is and maybe he isn't, but I don't believe it's MJF. I'm strong on it, and I feel as well that with, like you said, the hacker stuff, and great if it's Mustafa Ali, but again, just I don't they've not followed up on a load of stuff. It's just been a bit blah. The whole thing's been blah.
Look, I know you sit there and said Mustafa Ali. I'm trying to sit there and think now, Mustafa Ali, and I'd be like, no, not big enough name to sort of come into AEW and take that world title, and I'm like, Nick Nemeth, no, not a big enough name to come in and take that title. There's no one out there like I'm trying to even think of other releases from other companies, and there's no one out there. I mean, hey, Goldberg, why not? Let's just say it's Goldberg for a laugh. Goldberg comes in. Goldberg comes in, and let me tell you something, brother.
He goes all Hulk Hogan
against MJF. Yeah, tell me something, brother. You got to put me over, brother. I need to beat MJF for that title, brother.
He's giving his opinion about Vince McMahon, isn't he? If he gets his retirement match, he's in, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So,
there you go.
That's it, man. It's Goldberg. That's it. You heard it first here. Goldberg is the devil.
And Eric Douglas at the start of the stream actually went to stream, but I like this a lot more. It's the Maximum Male Models. I love that. Genuinely love that.
Just to go back to Josie's comment about which was worse, Retribution or the whole devil thing. Look, when you got people coming up with a name like Slapjack or Slapnuts or whatever his name was, and T-Bar, and like there's only 4 of them, yet we're getting at one point we saw like 10 of them destroying a ring with a chainsaw. Yeah, sure. That makes total sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So this, I mean, there's still time. This can get worse, but it also can get better. Jonesy, you've got a lot of comments in. I'm going to do my best to go through all of them for you now before we wrap up the stream. But he says he'd like to see Sammy Callan in the stable. He's joined MLW, so he will not be. I believe he can take other bookings, but he is signed with MLW, so I don't think he's going to be coming in any time soon. But he says if the devil is arrested under the mask, why the hell was he not able to be involved on the beatdowns? Well, I mean, maybe he just is the one given the direction. Maybe he doesn't want to get found out. Doesn't want the mask pulled off.
I think for me, that is more a case of if you see a physical representation of the devil, that you'll be able to, like, remember when I pulled up the whole picture from the Jay White attack, and I said, look at the size of this guy. Doesn't look like a big guy. Doesn't look like, it looks like a Tony Khan kind of size guy, which is why we've not seen him. Like, I think if he was to be, for instance, on the ramp, a lot of people would be going like, oh, size of him, he kind of looks like this person. He kind of looks like this person, which is, again, another reason why he hasn't spoken even, because I imagine someone out there has got some sort of audio equipment that can reverse engineer the audio to get the guy's proper voice. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, they learn quickly. And that's that. Jones says that. Where's the point? I'd say it was that laughing week when the devil laughed. That was the start. I was just like, oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. It sounded very Jack Perry. Like, yeah, it was awful.
Very Tony Khan like.
Yeah, it didn't sound devilish at all. It just sounded like someone that, I don't know, belonged at the comedy club or something. It didn't work for me at all.
Takes the mask off and it's Tony Khan in face paint.
There you go. I really now hope it's Stokely. That's who I want. I tell you, that's what I want. That's what I want. It's not going to happen. It won't happen, but that's what I want. The impression is, I get, is the storyline changed from its original plans, which would have easily been CM Punk until he re-signed with WWE. Jonesy says that. I personally disagree, but I can see why Jonesy would think that. None have worked because the mystery long form Scooby-Doo angle never does. It only really works if there's something hyped, not physically seen. The NWO third man. That worked as well, but I mean, that also had patience, and that to be fair only had about a few weeks to run. That didn't have as long to run as this did. This has been running since start of October, probably, I want to say.
Probably longer than that. It's probably been running since about September, I would want to say.
something like that. So
Because I'm trying to think, it was after All In, which was on end of August. So I'd probably even say September.
There you go. I mean, it just feels a long time. I mean, literally, the third man thing was started announced around the Great American Bash. It felt for WCW, and then a month later, Hogan was there. So, I mean, it was probably in the works long before, but it felt like it was around that sort of time period there. Yeah, it says Jonesy reckons it'll be Adam Cole, but he says don't get yourself injured if that's the case. Jonesy says though would be for Tony Khan to be involved somehow to get involved as a way trying to get the belt off MJF. The whole bidding war 2024 kicks off, and the bit of swearing at the end there. For me personally, they've not done that storyline. They should have done that. If they were going to do it, they should have done it by now. He's clearly re-signed. That's why they're not bothered with it.
Yeah, I think that's the best shout as well. Like, I think that's probably why this story's gone flat, is because he's re-signed, and I think that was probably their biggest angle going in with it. And the fact that it probably got leaked that he's re-signed is another reason why they've dropped it.
A very good source has told me he's re-signed anyway. That's all I'll say.
Would it certainly be a source that was in here earlier?
No, it wasn't.
No. Oh, okay, fair enough.
It wasn't. No, it was a different source. But I will not say because they asked me not to. So yeah. But another point, surely all these people who have taken out should want revenge. Jay White, should have wanted revenge. It's not followed it up. Again, stuff as well that makes me not as interested in it. Joseph says, well, he'd love to see Jim Cornette as the devil, same value as Vince Russo. That's what would make it worse. Jim Cornette back on my screen. That would make it worse in a minute. That really would. Goldberg has the devil thoughts. Certainly would be.
Scary.
Yeah. Also, worse with Retribution was when they got contracts. Absolutely. And Derek Douglas finished up by saying, I think it's because it's Adam Cole. So he's also going with Adam Cole. I will remain and stick with the Kyle O'Reilly to begin with and Adam Cole later. But I think Adam Cole could even be announced at the same time. I just think they need to do it. I think it should be a double act.
I think MJ. I don't even think Kyle O'Reilly at this point is a big enough name either.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah, like I said, if you was to have, that's what I said. If it was four guys, for instance, it was Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, for example. If it was all four of them doing it, do you know what I mean? It would make a lot more sense. But even that, I think, is just a cheap ploy on AEW using a former WWE stable. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, indeed. Then, well, that's all we got time for anyway on this, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for watching. Josie, thank you for the kind words. By the way, thank you for checking us out as well. But if you enjoyed the video, then do a massive favor. Please hit that like button, share with a friend as well. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and leave a comment after the video has gone off air. Because, like I say, these all seem like very small things, but they make a big difference to the channel. This is how the channel grows. This is how it gets out there in the algorithm worlds of YouTube, and how pretty much this can be found and can actually do more live streams, more content. If you like what you're seeing, then the more help we get, the more you'll get. That's pretty much how it's all going to play out. But Nick, Steve, I want to say a big thank you to you for coming on the stream as always. It's great to have you involved with this, and look forward to having you for another stream.
Yeah, man, looking forward to it as usual. It's always a pleasure to be on here, man. Sorry that I'm ill and coughing up my lungs every 5 minutes, but yeah, man, so it's always fun to be on here.
Well, it's great to have you on board as always, and I hope that you enjoyed World's End. I hope everyone watching enjoys World's End as well. And, well, will we get that devil reveal? We've been talking about, we think we're going to get it. Will MJF retain the championship? If there's something we've missed out, let us know what you think in the comments below. And hey, if you agree with us, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you for the next one. If you can't get enough, check out more videos on the stream right now, including the best of SCW 2023. Myself and Nick, Steve give the best match, male and female wrestlers.